We're all misfits.
All right, you ragtag bunch of misfits.
You're a scrappy little misfit, just like me.
Biggest bunch of misfits I ever seen either.
Good morning, Misfits. You are tuning into another episode of the Misfit Podcast. On today's episode, we have special guest Paige Semenza. We are going to check in on Paige and do a little Rogue Invitational recap. But before we get into that, as always, live chat. Hunter, Paige, hello. How are we doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Good.
I got a question for you,
For
Paige.
the listeners.
Oh, wow.
That this is live chat. Yeah. I did see the video, and I recall it. I remember the video. My question for you is, what club did you swing, and how far did it go when you were checking in at Rogue? It was a really good looking swing. It was like that's an athlete. That's an athlete.
Figure out how to upload another one so we can get a swing analysis. But you guys carry the episode here for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Alex, the guy that was there, was just, try this one, try that one. I tried I think an iron. I don't remember which one though. And then I was like, can I just have a driver?
Let's go.
Just give me
big
that.
stick.
Let me swing it. I didn't get it very far. I think like 220, I think was my furthest.
That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah. I mean, when you watch some of the other girls swing in a club, it wasn't that great.
No.
Yeah.
They're like,
I was like, that was a high level athlete who's never played golf before swinging a club. And it was like she's like 70% of the way to a really good looking golf swing.
I actually thought I was better than Jake Marconi. We won't tell him that though.
Probably you definitely were. Honestly,
he's like lock knees and just didn't look like a golfer.
So the only people that have taught him how to golf recently are Matt O'Keefe, who's a scratch golfer, Scott Stallings, who is a PGA Tour golfer. So I was like, oh, so like blank slate, and he's like, oh no, it was bad. I'm terrible. I was like, oh shit.
Fuck.
I should post those videos. Yeah, his knees were locked out. It was pretty bad.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the extent of my live chat. Right? Just Scotland this week. I said that's like the extent of my live chat right now.
Okay, Hunter. You seeing this?
Yeah, I got it. Pretty solid setup. Be a little wide for the legs. Like
That's the one.
You told me to.
left arm. Yeah, it'll tell you. The guy I work with, I think I bring my feet in quite a bit because it helps with rotation. So, but I mean, that's
not a lot of control. I was trying to go slow mo, try to break this down, but
nah, I wouldn't.
That's the one.
Yeah, a tiny bit over the top, but it looks like it didn't go too far right. Left arm stays nice and straight. Right elbow stays close. Paige, you gotta.
I was
I got another sport I can get ready with.
Yeah, I was gonna say whenever full competitive Paige retires, like I don't know, she might come back out on a golf course. I feel like you would like you might enjoy it.
I probably would. I don't know if I have the patience for all the small, like the tedious parts of it, but I like the driving range. I'll go to the driving range often if I have the time.
Nice.
Hunter, you got any live chat?
I talked about ways to like spend time with my brother, and I'm like, that would be probably the only way I could spend time with my brother. Is we'd have to like go golfing. Could you drink as many beers
as him though?
Definitely not.
Definitely
not.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of live chat going on. This is the end of the golf season, which is sad. Ended up with
you go to a simulator.
Yeah. I've received a few gift cards from a couple of different folks, so I've slowly stockpiled a few dollars in simulator credit, which will carry me through a couple of the winter months. But I asked for a putting mat for my birthday or Christmas from Santa Claus and mom and brother, so be able to get some short game practice dialed in. But
nice.
Yeah, I had like $230 or some odd in shop credit, so that I had to cook through by the end of the before the course closed for the winter. So I've got a 60-degree wedge waiting for me at Nonsuch. So I gotta zip on over there at some point today. Might sneak in a couple holes while I'm there. Why not?
Yeah, do it. Okay, what do I got? I'll do a meathead update, and then I have one that's slightly serious, mostly just cute. So my favorite day on Project, I'm calling it Project Lollipops, because 2 blue raz blow pops, goat candy of the 90s. So Project Lollipops. My favorite day on it is 3x10 strict press into 6x10 football bar bench. I just looked like someone sticks a needle in me and pumps me full of air by the end of it. I fucking love it. And I really thought that this was going to be the week that I had to end my linear progression with 3x10, and lo and behold, that's not the case. Had a little bit of candy on the airplane.
Deload last week.
Yeah, I felt fucking fantastic. I will say, though, I did not feel conditioned when I switched over to the football bar bench, but that's not like the most surprising thing in the world.
What was the 3x10 weight? You up to 185? No, probably not.
What?
185.
Oh my god! If I could do
Let's say
185,
165.
No, God, no.
145?
First of all,
35?
you guys don't know me at all. My 10 rep max and 1 rep max are 100 pounds apart. No, I'm up to like maybe 130 as like a top set, something like that.
10s.
3x10. Yeah. I mean, like the first set is always a joke, but the accumulation with strict press just like adds up really fast. Like the third set's always challenging. So I'm alive and well. I've got a 4x5 this weekend that could get a little iffy. That's probably starting to get up into like the 160s, which again for my like pressing endurance is not excellent, but I haven't had to turn around yet. And then I got a life lesson from my 18-month-old son this morning. He is obsessed with buses, trucks, mail trucks, the mailman, and he has this like book series that he likes called The Little Blue Truck, and Maya found one where the little blue truck becomes a bus. So this morning I like was getting his breakfast ready. I'm like very regimented with him. Like a schedule works really well for a kid. They sleep better, they eat better, like if they sort of can predict what's going to happen. So I'm super regimented with him, but I think you can like overdo it. So I'm like making his breakfast, running a little bit late this morning, and I couldn't really like hear him or see him. And I was like, what's going on here? Like he's at the age now where that's not like the biggest deal, but I peeked around the corner and he was sitting there with the book. So I was like, oh, little blue truck. And he starts laughing, but then like clearly wants me to read it to him. So he walks over, hands me the book. And if I'm doing something else, I'll just like set the book up on the ground so he can like look at it and whatever. And he looks at me and he goes, sit. And he walks back into the living room and sits down on this mini couch that he has and is like padding next to it. So I like walked over and sat down and read him the whole book. Yeah, basically. And it was just like the moment of like, you gotta fucking take it easy, guy. This is the little blue truck in the bus. We gotta read this right now. Like, you don't need to make my breakfast. The breakfast is going to be waiting in 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. Yeah. So lovely little life lesson from a 18-month-old child.
Wait, so we got first cute. Words then, clearly? Or was sit his first word?
He speaks like a 2.5 or 3-year-old. He's been talking for a while. He's like puts together sentences and can fucking count. And yeah, he's a little fucking brainiac. His doctor was like, holy shit.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was his first word? Or his first
Bubba.
Words?
Bubba. That's what we call
nice.
Cash. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
He like Bubba, Tate, and Hanky are like those were like mostly his first words. He did say mama before dada, but if you enunciate anything, he will say it back to you. Any word. It's fucking crazy, and it was weird at first because like he wasn't
bring
walking.
the kid over
he
here.
was, like,
Come here,
barely
smart ass.
crawling,
We'll play a
like,
game.
yeah.
Think you think you're so smart.
So yeah, he's a big talker, big language guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk Rogue Invitational. There's no way that you're listening to this podcast and don't know what that was, or the fact that Paige just went to the Rogue Invitational. But I think when we have an experience like that, especially when there's just not, man, this sport is just so weird with the amount of opportunities you get on a year-to-year basis to go do something like that. It's kind of crazy. So things that happen there and the way that we prepare for them and execute are really top of mind when we do get the opportunity to go and do an event like that. So I want to kind of break down sort of the way that you execute, Paige, the way that you think about things. But I think the first question is just like, how was it? Like, what was your experience like?
I've been to Rogue this year and last year. Last year, I kind of got a last minute opportunity. This year, I earned the invite competing at the games. And it's just top notch. Like they think about almost everything and just all the situations that might occur. Obviously, there's some where it's, really unprecedented. You might not really expect, the injuries that happen there. But they're always willing to adapt and change on the fly, which most events aren't that ready and prepared to go. And they just spoil you. They spoil the shit out of you. And it's just, they make you feel special. They make you feel like an athlete. And that's really what you want. Like you want to go and compete. And that's exactly what you get. And it's well delivered there.
There's also like, it's in the Rogue way though. Like it's not pomp and circumstance. Their judging standards are so straightforward. Like they don't overcomplicate things. Like just the example that comes to mind, the guy who, I think his name's Rob.
Yeah.
The guy who sort of runs that side of things for the competition just has a matter of fact way. And I think he's Scottish, right? Didn't he say he's either, yeah. He's like, basically like what we want to say at briefings, like do the movement. That's it. Like, that's all I'm asking you to do. Like they did at Hunter, they did a wall walk complex where you would wall walk into 2 wall facing handstand push-ups and then walk back down. Yeah. And that was a single rep. And he's just like, we want you to have to move through the range of motion and have to come up and down. But like, I don't care when your feet come down. I don't care when your hands come down. You're up on the wall and then your hands are in front of the line. Done. You can't somersault off the wall.
Yeah.
You can't cartwheel off the wall. Like, and he's like, when you're going, like, it's going to be the same amount of work for you. Same concept. Like, I want your hands here and I want you to walk yourself up the wall. Like, and
I think
they
that's
were like
such
that
a
about
missing,
a few different
that's such
standards.
a missing, like, thing from so many competitions. Even, like, the Open does that. Remember the year we had, like, the bar-facing burpee fiasco of, like, people screenshotting, like,
The
1.5 foot
Yeah.
off the ground.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, like, why do we have these standards that are just, like, they're not only are they impossible to objectively measure, but they don't fucking matter. Like the
Right.
person
The
who's going to
V-up.
do a burpee that they step over the barbell is in no danger of winning the competition, right? The fittest person is going to jump over the bar.
Yeah.
Same thing with like the wall facing handstand. It's like, I'm not trying to see if both of your hands get over the line before a foot touches the ground, like, because that doesn't fucking matter. Like, climb up the wall, touch your head to the mat twice, come back down. Like, don't somersault. Like, that's so easy.
Yeah, and there's different ways to do things, right? Like that allows an athlete to kind of express themselves with hitting specific points of performance, and that's all they're looking for. So I think that helps the sport kind of move the needle because it's letting athletes be athletic in places that having too much of a standard doesn't allow for.
I think at the high level too, like the devil's advocate could be like, oh, you're basically putting your job as the event organizer, your responsibility onto the athlete. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's like respectful to say to you guys, like, you know what you're doing better than anyone else in the whole world. Like, if you're going to do it wrong, we're going to notice, the judges are going to notice, but like, you didn't really hear much. I do know that on the wall walk, handstand push-up one, there was one judge that, I won't get into it, but made some very expensive no reps happen. And they actually said to the athlete, I'm going to be very strict before the event. So they knew. And it's like, a handstand push-up is a fucking handstand push-up. There's nothing that you could do in a handstand push-up, especially wall face. It's so hard to keep your head behind your arms. That would be impossible.
Right.
And I saw the athlete do the movement. I didn't watch their whole workout because I was watching Paige, but like I saw enough of it to know that they never would have had a no rep. So like that, there are still some people who can spoil stuff, but overall, just when it gets simplified in that way and it's just like go do your thing, it just like it sets the tone for the whole weekend.
Yeah, it does.
Also makes it easier on the judges too, and it's like
the
last thing you want is to be a judge who has like a checklist of 47 things you have to look for to make sure the rep counts. And it's like no wonder judges give out bullshit no reps, and then people get irritated,
pressure.
and then the judge doesn't want to do that anymore. It's like
all right, so we have resources on Misfit Athletics website for how to taper for a competition. We let all of our remote coaches know how we like to do it, but then there's the actual execution at a high level. How do you taper, and how do you think about tapering, like from kind of an execution and mindset standpoint?
Are we talking like the full week of tapering or like the full weeks of progression? Like
no,
the up
I would
in volume,
say,
down in volume.
Yeah, there's definitely a piece of like when we are programming for Paige, as she gets closer, we're intensity over volume for sure. But then that transitions over into a taper, and I'm just wondering how you think about that.
I think for me, it's keeping the intensity up in the metcons and the intervals or the bitch work again, but the intensity I think starts to shift more into the focus of like making sure I'm taking care of the recovery side of it, and making sure my routines are well established and consistent. And a taper week is just, I really want to feel good that week, and I'm going to take the extra time that I'm not training and put it in towards recovery, or maybe I have time to go to physical therapy an extra day or go for a massage, things like that. So it's more about making sure that I'm in tune with my body and feeling good. And same with my headspace.
You swap out movements at all? Like if you were looking at a triplet and it had skiing in it and you were like, I'm going to do echo bike, or is it just like still just execute on what's in the sheet?
Usually it's communicating with you or Gabe.
Sure. Yeah. Because I know I'll tell some athletes, like, I want you to like what you're doing this week. So if there's anything you want to swap, go for it. But most athletes that I work with are the type who will be like, can I row? It's like, yes, you can fucking row. Jesus.
Yeah, I like more of like a collaborative thought with it. I think I didn't used to be like that, but I think now, especially with having been through enough injuries where I've had to make so many adjustments, it's making sure that I'm on the same page with who I'm working with, and then communicating from there. So like you had said, when I was doing like my primer day, make sure movements just feel good. If it's not something that you want, you can swap it out for a different machine. But typically I'll stick with what's in there because I know that what's in there has the right intention of what we're trying to get. So I usually don't have a problem there, but I would still prefer the collaborative approach, even if it's the week in advance, like a couple days beforehand. So there's not like a tie up in time and not being able to communicate, especially with the time difference.
Do you, have you ever felt bad in a taper week? Have you ever felt bad, like, oh, I just I'm coming kind of back down the volume mountain where you're not maybe feeling so great, but like, hey, we're getting kind of close to game day and I'm still not feeling great. Have you ever experienced that? And how do you handle, like, you kind of trust, like, okay, my body will feel better by game day? How do you kind of mentally deal with that when your body maybe is like, am I fucking ready to compete, or am I still in the danger zone here?
Yeah, I actually the week before the games, before getting out there, I had really, really bad training. And like I was crying about it, and I was mostly just kind of being in my own head about it. And then I was talking to Drew, and I was like, I just don't feel good. He's like, I don't think you remember that this happens every time. This is how you guys always feel, and it's just the recovery and more of the anticipation of the competition that's about to begin. And then honestly, it just takes a lot of trust in his word and trust in my training to go out and execute, you know, whether it's the week of a competition and it's Monday, or it's primer day the day before. I think it's more of just having faith in your training and trusting the process of feeling a little beat up, but at the same time feeling prepared. I don't think I've ever been at a point where I feel so wrecked that I'm not going to be able to perform.
Yeah, the understanding your process is one of the most important parts of being a high-level competitor. You don't want to be taken aback by something like that. You also don't want to fight it. Like if you're going to, I think one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this, like going down the list, is like when you think about tapering and traveling, you guys are so regimented and your schedule is what it is. And, you know, your rest days are like, you've done a lot by the time you get to a rest day, so you can handle one of them. But if it feels like you have like 6 of them or 7 of them, and you're like, the way that you have control over what you're doing is being physical, and you're being told to not do that and to do all of these other things and to show up at this place at this time and do this briefing and do whatever, like you can sense a lot of athletes that feel that. They're like, this is different for me. This is outside of my comfort zone. So knowing how you react as you get closer to a competition, and of course working on it, but like there's a part of it where you just got to let it happen. Because if you're feeling like really shitty and then you're judging that as well, like you're adding all of this extra pressure on top of it. And it's like, I'm going to feel shitty, but I'm going to like let myself feel that way. Like that can be really helpful for athletes. So anytime I'm at a competition with an athlete, especially for the first time, even if it's, you know, Misfit athletes that's coached by another athlete, I want to like peek in on that and be like, what's your process? Like, where's your headspace at right now? Are you overthinking things? Are you too analytical about it? Like, I'm going to go at 57 RPMs in this workout and it just is what it is, even if I'm in last place. Like, there's so many different places that an athlete's mind will go. And like learning to lean into that stuff, I think is incredibly important.
Yeah, I think, you know, and obviously I have someone like McKenna to kind of, you know, watch her process as well and see, like, we're very different. And I think a lot of that comes with the experience as well. But the anticipation of like, oh my God, the first workout is in 2 days. Like the start of the competition's in 3 days and 2 days and 1 day. If you kind of let that build each day, by the time you get to, oh shit, the competition is in 12 hours, I need to go to bed, then yeah, it can really have a negative impact. And I think a lot of it just has to do with always being open-minded and willing to adjust to whatever the schedule is, because we can't control that. If we're told to be somewhere at 11:30, okay, well, I'm going to plan around that with if I'm going to do primer day and get that done 2 hours beforehand or whatever it is. So I think a lot of it comes with experience. And like we had a lot of downtime in Scotland, so that kind of helps. But at the same time, you're in Scotland and you want to go explore and see things. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of like, I want to go do things, but I know it's not in my best interest to be out on my feet for 8 hours of the day, 2 days before the competition. But there are some things on your bucket list, and you kind of make some sacrifices there.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of traveler are you? I've traveled with enough CrossFit athletes to know that some just fucking go with the flow and like don't have anything to eat or like a cup of water on the airplane, and then other people have more fucking pillows and gadgets and like schedules. So I'm interested to hear like how you travel.
I think I'm kind of in between. You obviously know that I'm super organized,
Yes.
and everything is planned out from what I need, like that standpoint. I actually traveled with food, so I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna have when I'm out there. So I made a bunch of ground turkey and white rice, and I put it in the freezer. And then my travel day, it was kind of like it thawed out in my cooler, and I put it in the fridge when I got there. So I definitely had meals as I needed. And then I always have snacks. So I definitely am prepared as far as like having electrolytes and having my sleep mask for the long flight. I feel mostly prepared. I don't feel prepared for when I'm told that it's $100 to ship one bag. That was just not the fun part. Yeah, I haven't traveled enough internationally, but I spent a lot of money on bags, and I just wasn't ready for that.
Did you fly British Airways?
Yeah, I went
wasn't a
British,
fan.
then Delta. I
I
wasn't
was
either.
not a fan of British Airways. That was like everything about it was antiquated. And like normally, like any American U.S. based airline is typically rated pretty low. I would rate British Airways below Delta, below American, below United. Like,
Oh, I
it
didn't know
just
that.
it just felt British, you know? Like, yeah, they got I don't know, they just got that vibe. This is like castles and shit. Like they made that when they made the planes that I flew on when they made the fucking castles, as far as I can tell.
Still better they lost the war.
Could be.
I exclusively travel 2 to 48 hours later than I'm supposed to when it's for CrossFit related things. So, in case you were going to ask me that next.
Nope, we're not going to ask you
Ahead of time?
No, I'm saying I'm almost exclusively delayed anywhere between 2 and 2 hours and 2 days, depending on where we're going.
Yeah. Out of that main airport.
We don't want to talk about that.
Spent
It's
an entire
normally good.
goddamn Friday work day. It was just, I was just going to work from the airport today. I can see my
Lovely.
apartment. Not fucking going anywhere. I can literally see my apartment from the terminal I sat in for 8 hours. Woosah.
Let's do some events. So event 1, 10 rounds, 1 sandbag carry, 1 400-meter run. The first 4 400-meter runs were with a rucksack. Was the women's weight 30?
20.
20 pounds. How did you think about this workout from an execution standpoint? And then was there anything special about like warming up or cooling down for it?
No, usually we always know that the first event is usually going to be pretty long as far as the time domain goes. So I'm always prepared to do a slightly longer warm up than usual. So if I'm doing a 15-minute sweat check, I'll typically extend that out to 20, 25. And I think I actually did 25 when we were there. So you had actually said like this is one of those workouts where each round like the RPE is going to go up a little bit, and that was like the perfect kind of mindset to have about it, because it was like I know that the running is going to get harder and harder, but it's not going to be something that I can't sustain. And the sandbags, I think if really the only strategy there was don't leave the heaviest bag for last, or like one of the last rounds. I actually did the 150 on like my 5th round the first time I took the rucksack off. And then from there, it's just being efficient of getting the bag up on your shoulder and getting moving. So it's just a nonstop workout. I thought it was fun. I liked that it was different bags. I think it would have been a little bit better if it was like the drag bags had to be dragged across, because like I just think that would change it a little bit. Like they were too light that you can just pick it up and throw it on your shoulder.
Do you think that was so? There, Hunter. The original idea was 10 unmarked sandbags of different sizes, and they tried to trick you. They ended up marking them.
Yeah.
And one thing that was interesting is if you watch the early heats, it didn't even cross a lot of athletes' minds to pick up the ones with the drag handle on them. So like, I just like.
Could you carry more than one at once?
No.
No.
You had to take one. You had to take one per round. So it was just interesting. Like we just saw how slow it was, and I was like, "Do not drag that thing. Pick that thing up."
Yeah.
So like,
Right.
little bit of like, it's cool in theory, but if we notice that, then I just get to tell you that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if they had kept it so that the standard was like the drag bags, you have to drag them. The jerry cans, you have to carry it like a jerry can. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that would have differentiated the workout a little bit more than that just being a straight running workout, because that's really what it was.
Did
Yeah,
you
for
do
sure.
the were you at the games the year they did the sandbag?
The
in this-
Capitol.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
The
Oh.
I think they were still in California. It was the sandbag. It was the old
The
it was
wheelbarrow?
repeat of the game. Yeah, the wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if there have you done other events where like, because for the most part, like you don't get to kind of choose how you complete the work, right? So like in this instance, you could like, you got to be a little bit strategic about what sandbags you pick when.
Yeah.
Do you like workouts like that? Do you like where there's like a little bit of the like I think that's like another step in like the strategic element versus just like, how am I going to break up these muscle ups? Like,
Yeah.
what's the like, there's a little bit more strategy in my mind with something like that than just like a workout where you got to break things up.
Yeah. I mean, it also like, you're in the back and you're corralled and you're getting ready to go, and someone's like, "So what's your strategy?" And I'm like, "I don't want to tell you. Like, what if my strategy is wrong versus your strategy?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to tell you. But yeah, I think it, again, kind of speaks to the athlete knowing themselves enough to know how to break it up. And then it leaves room for that creativity of being an athlete and having to use what we call our athlete IQ. There was an open workout that was like that. The row,
Muscle up, row, wall
muscle
ball.
up and wall ball. Yeah. Which I thought was cool. We've only done that like once, which I don't know. I think it speaks to how, find the right strategy for you. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
One thing that Paige does well that we talked about before the event is don't second guess yourself while you're doing the workout. Because obviously it was cool to watch because when they came back from the run route, they ran through Zeus. They had to run down the lane, get the bag, bring it back, and drop it in Zeus before going out for another lap. So you got this really cool visual of where everyone was at in relation to one another and whether you could go execute on this thing and then pop back out in front of someone that you were behind or vice versa. And it would add up a lot. You would have to make up a ton of ground on running if you went out there and tried to figure out what bag you were going to pick up and how you were going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Like you could have that moment of like, whoa, I just picked up the 150. Like I saw multiple athletes like pick it up and like get like kind of tossed around a little bit. But then they went and, they just moved it and dropped it. And it's like, well, that's, checked off. So we talked about like, yeah, we don't want to pick up the heaviest ones with the ruck. We also don't want to leave it late. But if you pick something up, that's your fucking sandbag.
Yeah.
like
that
that sort
thing.
of thing. So I think that
Yeah,
was
you
really
almost had to
important.
be a little proactive of like, okay, I'm picking this one up, but what is the one next to it so I can look at that for next round? Is that an ideal one to pick up, or should I take another step and pick up the one that's behind it? So it's kind of like I'm on round 4, but I'm already thinking of what round 5 is so that I'm mentally ready to pick up that next weight.
Yeah.
All right. Individual event number 2, 26 calorie echo bike, 16 ring muscle ups, 8 squat snatch at 160 pounds, 6 shuttle sprints. Let's tell the listeners How many muscle ups did you do in September and October, Paige?
Zero.
How many squat
None.
snatches did you do in September and October, Paige?
None. Maybe an
Yeah.
empty bar.
Yeah.
Maybe an empty bar.
This was, for me, I could tell in the back that you were ready to do this workout. But I don't get to go out there. I don't get to be like, no, you're doing great. Like that's where the coach, you have these moments of like, just let me have an earpiece. Come on, just let me, just a couple of notes here. For me, this was a pivotal moment in the way that the rest of the weekend was going to go, right? It's like, I haven't done these things, but I've got my 10,000 hours. How's my shoulder going to hold up? Like, this was a pretty big moment in the competition. So, how'd it go?
So I finished ninth, which was a surprise. I snatched twice the week of, because I hadn't done it before, like prior to that week of going into the competition. So I snatched twice that week, both times building up to like right around 165. So I was like, I at least know I can do it. Can I do it after going pretty hard on an echo bike and then fatiguing my pulling and my pressing in the ring muscle up? But I think a lot of girls also were not sure how it was going to go, a little uncertain after the ring muscle ups. But I was the last off the bike, probably out of both heats. Just casual. It wasn't like a slow bike, but it wasn't a fast one either. I was like 63 to 65 RPMs. So we had finished right around the time domain that you had even like predicted. And I get off that. I broke my muscle ups into 3 sets, 3 or 4 actually.
4. Yeah.
And then
Those
it was 4.
Long and wide ring straps are a different beast.
Yeah. They really do throw you off. And then from there, it was just, I think I had 2 fails on the snatches to start. First one just went way behind me, so I like overshot that one. But then from there, it was like, all right, if it's going behind me, I know that I have the pulling and I'm going to be fast to get under the bar. So it was more of just making sure I can stabilize at the bottom, which I did struggle with, but I didn't have any more misses from there on out. And then the shuttle runs, you just felt like molasses, like that.
Those are so funny.
It was like
watch.
time warp.
You guys were all so slow. It was amazing to watch you guys just run laps.
You didn't feel slow.
Great. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great event. I was really happy about that. And you had said too, like, fitness will prevail in places where fitness can. And that one definitely spoke to that a lot.
Yeah, if they go in and they write these tests, and the test is testing how good are you at ring muscle ups in a vacuum, how good are you at 160-pound snatches, it's not a good workout, right?
Right.
And like the magnifying glass would be put on those workouts so fast. The amount of fucking YouTube channels now that would just sit there and be like, you guys suck at programming. Like, this is no good. This was a good test. And if it's a good test, then it's testing fitness. Of course, if you're better at one of the things, then, you have some play on another, element or whatever it is, but it has to be part of this like overarching thing, which is biking, gymnastics, heavy weightlifting, and running. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's like beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
And I thought that this would be a good one to explain to people I call it the know your enemy exercise. So when you're going into a workout, knowing how long does it take to do 26 calories on the Echo bike at this? How long does it take you to do this many muscle ups? Are we shooting for every 5 seconds on the snatch, every 10 seconds on the snatch, that sort of thing? And what that can do for you, not just in this workout specifically, but in general, is just say, hey, this is the time domain. Like, how hard can you push if a workout's 4 minutes long? How hard can you push if a workout's 14 minutes long? And no offense to the listeners, you guys don't fucking know the difference between a 4-minute and a 14-minute workout half the time. That's our job. That's where we come in. So that changes things for an athlete. And you and I talked about the bike. And I was just like, you've talked to me about the bike before, about your gears. This bike's going to take you 1 minute and 44 seconds. It was like 1:42. You revved it up.
A little bit.
But what does that do for you psychologically as people are leaving the bike and you are just looking down at your screen and you're kind of just waiting for 1:44 to like happen, right? Is it different for you when you know how long it's supposed to take versus, because that sucks in the beginning of a workout, especially early in a competition.
Yeah.
Everyone's just leaving the bike and you're like, well, here we go.
Yeah. It just gives you like a level of acceptance that allows you to, you come up with a plan. It's like, I accept this plan, but like now you're just adding another layer to being specific of this is going to take this long. These should take this long. So yeah, that definitely helped a ton for me because I am usually like, I'm probably maybe the smallest athlete that was there. And not to say that I can't be powerful on a bike, but like when it comes to something like an echo bike, I really have to be mindful of how I approach any kind of workout. So, same thing with rowing or, any of those machines. So yeah, I was really happy with that. I think the person that came off first finished in the back 5 of the workout. Person that came off the bike first. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Which makes sense, right?
Dude,
the bike isn't where you win that workout.
She was sprinting. She was sprinting the bike, and I was just like, what kind of fucking muscle up snatch freak is this? And it's like, that workout took a very long time. And the funny thing is, you know who got off the bike in the 130s? Tia. You know what I mean? Like, if she got off in the 130s, then most other people should not. You know what I mean? Go any faster than that. Like, maybe Laura, whatever. But yeah, I was amused by that. They had the camera right on her.
When did you know that this workout page?
When did we know they were announced?
You know what that was that ahead of time, like before you traveled, or like was
no
that workout known when you got there?
Yeah, that one we knew. The only 2 we didn't know before we went were event 6 and event 9. So the duel and the final.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything else we
is
knew.
Like knowing that you hadn't done either of those 2 movements in the last couple months because of a shoulder injury. What is like the initial reaction to that sort of like workout announcement, and then like what's the process to go
happen.
from that place to the place of like fitness will prevail? Or is it just a conversation with coach? Is it just some mental gymnastics in your head? Like what do you do when you get dumped a fucking shit sandwich? Like, how do you overcome that?
I just go and execute. Like, if I think about how bad I'm going to do, it's only going to be even a worse placement. So I just have to come up with a plan and stick to my plan as best as I can. If there's like points within that I can do better than what my plan is asking for, I'll reach for it. But I try to stick to it as best as I can. And usually plan A's never go like as plan A should go. So yeah, I mean, it comes down to being kind of, it is what it is for me. I try not to let it get too in my head. Cause I did that too and I know we'll kind of talk about it later, but I did that with the handstand walk workout too. I'm like, I haven't spent time upside down. I haven't spent time pressing, the handstand push-up event. Like, I can only do what I'm able to do in that moment. So I can't be mad at the fact that I haven't done ring muscle ups in 2 months if the event goes poorly.
All right. Individual event 3, Braveheart, 8642, wall walk complex, 260-pound back squat. This was your most challenging event, for sure.
Yeah.
we could sort of the writing was on the wall a little bit with some potential damage control. We've said it a million times at camps on this podcast: to press, you must press. To not press, you must not press. But
I have not
very
pressed.
curious. I'm very curious what your takeaway is from this workout. Came in 18th, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I finished just under the cap. 5
Finished
seconds
just
under the cap.
You have
My
not
squats felt
experienced
great.
moments like that very often in your career. Like,
No.
there are workouts where you just can't go as fast as other people. And the funny thing is, like, it looks like there are these huge gaps in the competition. And then if listeners of this podcast went and did the workout themselves, like, they would realize, like, oh, they lost by 45 seconds and I lost by 45 minutes. Like, there's, sort of levels to this. But when you have a workout like this where you're just kind of stuck in place, it's got to be a different feeling for you specifically.
Yeah, there's definitely points where it's like, you can kind of feel like your throat closes up a little bit. You almost want to let some tears out. It gets a little overwhelming. It's like, why am I failing so many reps? I'm somersaulting off the wall because I can't press out. So it was really frustrating, but at the same time, like, probably at least 30 times throughout that workout, I was like, you haven't been doing this. Like, you haven't been doing this, but you're going to just keep trying. I think the thing that I walk away with the most out of that one is I never stopped trying. And I never let, like, the emotional stress kind of impact me in that workout. I think I had 2 workouts here where, like, the most important thing for me to remind myself that you had even said too was to just stay in it. So stay in it mentally. And so that's kind of the proud moment of walking away from that workout. Is it definitely wasn't my best, but I didn't quit. My back squats felt great.
You were far from quitting though. Like, that's just the post that I made about it was something to the effect of not all victories are measured on a leaderboard.
Yeah.
You can have an event where you go out and you take top 5 and it's just an expression of the work that you've done over a long period of time. You go on autopilot, you crush it, you're done, you go cool down. It's fun, you know what I mean? But when you are, like, standing toe to toe with, like, one of the hardest things that you could possibly do, you watched a lot of athletes go through that and back away from it. And I don't know if that's just sort of generally how they feel about doing that, or if it's because it's in front of a bunch of people and they think that there's expectations put on them. But to be, like, again, toe to toe with, like, honestly, I don't know what they could have thrown at you that would have been worse than that for you, just in terms of you being able to execute.
Right.
And you failed a lot of reps. You failed reps early. You kind of found your groove a little bit. And you just kept fighting through the workout. Still had to transition, still jogging and putting your belt on at the same time and going and doing, unbroken sets of super heavy back squat. So that's just one of those things where, like, that's something that you can hang your hat on that lives even outside of the realm of fitness. Like, when I'm faced with, like, really heavy shit, I'm going to push back and I'm going to try.
Yeah. I think too, like, with that workout specifically, I've always been an athlete where if I see something that I know I'm not great at, I want to be more conservative. Where this was actually, like, a workout that I wanted to go sooner than I knew my body was ready to go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know the goal was to go when you are ready, like when you can do the 2 strict handstand push-ups, but, like, I wanted to go faster than that. Like, mentally I wanted to go faster. So I had to kind of keep bringing myself back to earth a little bit in my head. Whereas normally a workout like that, regardless, I would be, like, as conservative as I can be. So I just want to press. I just want to press.
Me too.
Just want to do it.
All right. Event 4, 1K row, 30 thrusters, 135/95, 30/20 log muscle ups, 30 more thrusters at 135/95, and another 1K row. This is a spicy meatball.
I was gonna
Very.
say, that's fucking kicks.
Yeah,
and
this is
fucking
not
knackers,
and this is the start to day 2 after 4K of running and sandbag carries and 20 back squats at 375/260 and the echo bike and the shuttle sprints and the whatever. like it was very clear. There was an athlete who stood up on one of the ballistic blocks to like grab the pull-up bar and their leg buckled. And I was like,
Yeah.
yo, you guys can fucking back squat 260 and you can't walk. There we go.
I thought Monday going home that I had rhabdo in my legs. That's how bad they felt. I couldn't walk down steps.
You had that moment. You had that fucking moment of like everything was totally kept together, and then the final was over, and you were like, my body doesn't work. Like you knew you had to keep your shit together for 9 events total, and that you didn't have to anymore. And you let yourself realize, like, I need to go get like dry needling done to be able to just go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so glad they were there too, the physio people.
Yep.
That was a good event for me, I thought. I thought the execution
Agreed.
was pretty on point. You had me walk you through my plan from the very beginning. So kind of visualizing how I'm going to break up the thrusters, like what is plan A, what would plan B be if that starts to slow down cycle rate. So I felt like I really executed pretty well on that. And then I think body language was probably the most biggest difference for me, especially ending on the rower. I rode faster. I got faster in my second row than my first, obviously, trying to strategize early on with the first row. But in years past, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like I wouldn't be able to push the pace in the second row and maintain really good body language about it and kind of keep my technique. So I kind of, leaned on my inner McKenna when it comes to rowing. So I thought that's kind of the proud moment in that workout was the ending on the row. And I knew I'd be ending on the row regardless. So, to be able to maintain a better
for most
pace.
athletes, Hunter, to finish with the
Yeah.
time cap, which is just like,
Yeah.
If you don't know what it's like to go back to a rower in that time domain, I suggest you try it.
So bad. So yeah, I was happy with that.
Did you get to mess around on a log before going?
Yeah, they had 2 logs in the back. I didn't have issues with the log last year or this year. It's just a matter of like finding the right pace to jump up and come down off singles. Like some girls, I think like maybe Alex Gazan tried stringing some together, but they eventually fell back into singles towards the end anyway. Did it help her get ahead? Yeah, probably a little bit. But it wasn't worth the risk, I don't think.
Yeah. How big was the log? Is it like telephone pole like thick?
Honestly, like
4 inch.
probably
inches.
like
Yeah.
a 36 ounce Yeti is probably like a good
Yeah. Okay.
But you do
comparison.
have to. You do have to. It's not
like
a true false grip, but it's close.
Yeah.
You really gotta like
what I was
muckle on
thinking.
there for sure.
yeah.
I found out that there were 2 coaches who were having a conversation about what coaches could or couldn't do a log muscle up. Like they were just bored. So someone from HWPO walks up to me and goes, "Could you do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably. Why?" It was like, "Okay, we thought so." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Yeah, me and Justin were just over there. We were bored, so we went around the room and guessed who could do what." And I was like, "Parlor tricks are my thing. Like if we had to race burpees, any significant amount, I'm out. But like if you need some sort of circus trick, there's a pretty good chance I'm your guy." Yeah, the thing with the log muscle up that was fascinating and frustrating from a coaching standpoint is like when I see world-class athletes unable to do something like that, I'm like twitchy. I'm like, if Paige wasn't competing and I was just here, I think I could go over there and fix all of those. Because it's like you would, in your hollow position, keep your arms straight and get up to somewhere near eye level like you would in a bar muscle up, right? We don't have that hip extension until we travel back up and behind the bar. And you just did that every rep. And I told you, I was like, I have no notes for these. Like, you're doing a bar muscle up. You're doing a bar muscle up that you would see someone do when they're really fatigued and they know that they need to be efficient. Like, that's what it is. That's what that movement is. So when you see athletes, a lot of people doing the chicken wing, a lot of people trying to rush and do more of kind of the uprise and push down into it. It's like, you need impeccable bar muscle up form to get up over that thing. You don't need to invent some new way to get up over there. It's the same thing with, you know, trying to teach people how to do the ruck muscle up a couple of years ago at semifinals. Like, you already know how to do this, but like, it's got to be really good. You got to be really patient. You got to get yourself into good positions. So yeah, that was a really cool workout to watch, because I think there's a narrative within the sport that honestly, unfortunately, is correct for a lot of athletes. Like, you shouldn't be able to go push on the row at the end compared to your opponents because of size, but you went in and you executed and you've worked on it. And you got to the rower at the same time as an athlete who's, man, 5-6 inches taller than you, and you rowed faster than her the entire time.
Yeah.
And like, that comes back to, there'd be too many words that we could say and how that's possible and how you've made that happen. But having the visual representation of it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a mental win for me too. Like, keeping the body language. We had in 2022 semifinals at Syndicate. It was like Jackie 2.0 or Jackie Pro or whatever they called it. And it ended with a 1K row. And I finished at I was holding like a 2:13. And then here I was holding a sub 2, like a 2, sub 2. And I'm like, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it is.
And it still felt very much the same.
Yeah, that's the best part, right? Does not get easier. You just get a little bit faster. No. All right. This next one is the one that we were talking about before the podcast started, of a swing and a miss in terms of the time cap. Which didn't make any sense, especially having the men's and women's time cap be the same. But 3 rope climbs, 21. They started with your left arm, I believe. 21 left arm.
Right arm.
Single arm devil's press with the 100/70, and it was the sear dumbbell, so a little bit harder to hold on to. 3 more rope climbs, 21 devil's press on the other side, and then 3 rope climbs, sort of. I don't know. There were 3 finishers, I think.
Yeah.
The finishers were probably Tia, Gabby, Laura.
2, actually. Well, Gabby had, I think, just the run to the finish line.
Right. Yes. And no offense to anyone, present company included, the time cap should not be based on Tia, Gabby, and Laura if you want the spectators to go out there and watch.
It was basically how many devil's press you can get done.
Exactly, yeah. So if the workout wasn't intended to have 9 rope climbs in it, that's a place where, you know, from a program design standpoint, that's a place where you can have an athlete who's going to do well with the dumbbell, but then lose time, and, you know, you kind of have a little bit of a back and forth there. So most athletes didn't even get back to the rope, which was just kind of unfortunate to watch.
Yeah.
How were
that one was beefy.
With those,
they were hard. Like, if I couldn't hook grip it, I would, like, that thing would probably fly out of my hand on the way up. So
I'm looking at it,
and you actually thought you couldn't there for a little while.
You can hook grip it?
Yeah, I can hook grip it. It's like very little of a hook grip. Like, if I didn't have tape on my hand, on my thumb, I would not be able to maintain
the Texas
my hook
bar
grip.
hunter. You know those powerlifting
Could it
bars?
Be, it looks like it. I didn't know what it was. I assumed
they say the diameter is the same on those as it is. Yeah, but still, like, I have small hands. Like, that's
it's
still
closer to
pretty
a
wide
barbell
diameter.
though than a dumbbell. I mean, because like a lot of dumbbells,
like a men's bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that thing looks more like. Fuck, it looks like it's got a fat grip on it, to be honest. But
yeah,
I would have guessed.
I mean, they said it was the same diameter.
Could you do?
I don't do enough with
like
well,
a clean and jerk, or does that have?
We weren't allowed.
Like...
Yeah, so it had to be straight from the floor.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It
Had to be
wasn't as
dynamic,
bad.
that's for
Like we
sure.
did the 70-pound dumbbell at the
I
game.
got 4 reps in that workout. The 3 rope climbs and one of those fucks.
Yeah, that was one where it was interesting because, like, we were talking about you have to pace those to a certain extent. Like, if you went out there and
Yeah.
literally tried to sprint through them, but there isn't a place to rest in the movement that's efficient. Because, like, part of the movement and part of being good at it is it's momentum based. The way that you move through the whole thing carries you through that dumbbell snatch every time, especially if you're going to go on one side.
Yeah, we talked about like doing it was move the dumbbell every 7. So you and I had talked about, okay, do your 7 and then move it to the next spot and like let that be where you get your breath. But even 7 at a 70-pound dumbbell is very gassy. Such a gas feel. Like the rope climb didn't even matter in that workout. It was just, can you do the devil's press efficiently enough to just get back to the rope, really?
And you guys, almost all of
Not
you
that
found
fun.
threshold. You could tell when you
Yeah.
got to about 10 devil's press in that next round, it was like a how bad do you want it kind of a workout.
Yeah.
You saw some
I had
heinous looking dumbbells. Oh my God. I won't say who, but just maybe a little taller, you know, bless their heart, but whoa. like thoracic spine parallel with the ground backwards. Like leaning all the way back with the dumbbell here. And then finally,
classic.
like, real good. Yep. Good stuff. But hey,
get it done.
Point A to point B. Just out there grinding.
Exactly.
All right. This one was fun for the most part. Obviously, the injuries were kind of overshadowed a little bit of it. So the dual, the sort of tournament style workout with your little sprint interval in it, and then they go from 20 athletes to 15 to 10, etc. 5 up and over a hay bale, 50-foot sled push, 4 power stair steps. Think of like an infomercial kettlebell where you have just a handle and then you can add plates to it. That's kind of what the what is it called? Power bell, I think, is what they call it. But it's a strongman implement where you basically looks like the TNT thing from Warner Brothers. You pick up on those 2 handles and you set it up onto something. So they went up the stairs with it and then hit the buzzer. So very Rogue kind of event, both with the format of it and then like what the actual movements were. I thought they crushed the how many of each thing, how far you had to run. Like it was all of it was borderline too much, but not too much.
Yeah. It honestly felt like by the end of it, what did we do? 4 heats or 5 heats? I felt like I did like 5 echo bike sprints, our bitch work piece of like hit a hard sprint and then rest as long as you need to. That's what it felt like. And each one got harder and harder. It was fun though.
Time.
I definitely liked the duel. Yeah, I did until the very last one, which really messed me up. You had to get the sled completely past the line. And each round before, I'd push, and then I would get like a nice little nut, like push off of the sled so that I can start turning and running towards the power stairs. And the last one, I just didn't have it in me, and my sled moved like that far. I was like, shit. I had to go back and push it across. So, but that was fun. And that, again, that's one of those where like, here's the standard of the get-overs. Get as creative or get as athletic as you need to. And obviously, I think Danielle Brandon kind of set the tone of that, especially for the men. I was not able to do a rebound at the ground to be able to go right back up. I tried for like 1 rep and I just couldn't get my knee up high enough. So I stuck with like a little double bounce at the bottom, which was still pretty fast. Just, I think if you had that leg up and you were really good on the sled and then just able to run down to those power stairs, that's how you won. Like Emma Tall was moving on the sled. It was wild to see how much ground she'd make up. Just it was nuts. But it was fun.
That's another one where like the way that you execute in those workouts is very much like a signature Paige thing. Like all they talked about with the, when you listen to the commentaries, basically like if you're small, you're screwed. And it was so fun to talk with you about how you could maybe go faster on that each round. Like, here's what I saw. Let's look at a video of what this other person is doing. We're like strategizing the whole time. But the most Paige part of it is I'm going to land on the other side of this thing and I'm going to fucking catch you. Other people don't give themselves the opportunity to do that. It's, I got to the other side and fuck, I'm already behind. I'm already behind in this workout. And you're like, better run. You better fucking run. I'm coming. I'm coming. And it's just like clear that like you see things and challenges that way. And other people could learn from it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can really underestimate those small transitions of running to the sled and running to the stairs. Like that could be a second on your time, and with how little time differentiated first and second or second and third, like you need those seconds.
Did you see people get injured?
I didn't see it happen.
Or did you know at any point that somebody got hurt, like in between, like before you were getting ready to go?
I was in the same
heat with Gabby. Did that like impact you? Did that impact you psychologically at all, or is it just kind of like, fuck, that's a bummer, kind of a
no? Yeah, I was pretty devastated for Gabby when I heard that might have been a Achilles tear. Like that's just so upsetting. Like such a great athlete, I still think very bright future ahead with competing. Like she's so young. But the good thing of being young is you can bounce back and get right back to it. But yeah, I was just more devastated for her. I don't think twice about if I'm going to if I'm going to rebound a box jump or whatever. Like I'm still going to go and rebound a box jump.
Yeah.
It's just, that's competing. It's a risk that you take. I don't think it was a miss on Rogue's part. I think they did the right thing and adjusted the workout when they needed to. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as a movement that I don't think that would enter my thought process as far as like, hey, how can things go wrong? What's like the what are we missing here? It's like that just sucks. It's just super unfortunate.
Especially for the men, like they are bringing a lot of body weight back down onto their legs from a high box, but I don't think they anticipated it being a rebound movement. So seeing that they then changed
the workout changed when Danielle did that the first time.
Yeah.
Like, people saw it and they were like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. Like she looked like a gymnast. She was doing almost nothing on top of the hay bale and just down and back up. And it was like, oh, holy shit. So that's how you do it. Kind of crazy to watch. Super fun event though. I heard complaints again. Apparently it was frustrating watching because like you literally sat there for like 6 minutes and stared at your computer with nothing on the screen. But it was great in person. The timing of it was great in person. It just gave us an opportunity to like recap and re-strategize and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And sit on a bike and recover. Because wow, like after doing the get overs, like you would turn and run to the sled and you're like, oh my God, I already feel my legs. And all I did was jump up on a box, on an object. So yeah, that was pretty insane.
Hunter, you know the snail? The thing that they like push that rolls. Have you seen that at the games?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So everyone was like, so you guys are just going to put the snail on its side, right? And they were like, no, that's not what it is. That's not the implement. And they put the snail on its side, but they covered it in a bag to make it look like it was something else. It was just like, you fuckers. That's exactly what it is. There's no way you have multiple versions.
Like there's hay
of
in
a
there.
Giant cushy
Is that the
cylinder.
snail? No.
It's the hay bale.
No, look over there, guys.
Yeah.
No.
That was so fun.
Like it's real hay in there. Is it?
I don't think so. All right, so that was the end of day 2. We're moving into day 3. Another, I would say, probably the second most mentally challenging workout. Maybe it was the first. I don't know.
Are my arms gonna hang on?
My abs, my arms.
Sideways pegboard, 48 calories ski, 60 GHD sit-ups, another pegboard in the other direction, 32 calories, 40 GHDs. Pegboard, 16, 20, pegboard. This was definitely one of those ones where it was like, not only did you need to figure out the movement as an athlete to just be able to do it, to get down the first time, or, you know, if you're super fit, get down the second time, but then it was, when is it appropriate for me to try to do this again? Like, that was a huge part.
Yeah.
You guys don't really face those kind of things that often. Way back in the day, you
Yeah.
would face it with, you know, super heavy barbells, like that sort of thing. But now the strength has risen to a point where that doesn't really happen as much anymore. So how did you feel about this one?
I was nervous. I've done a lot of grip work leading up to it, but it wasn't a lot of hanging from a pull-up bar. So I was like, I felt prepared, but also just not prepared. I don't know. Holding my own body weight feels way worse than holding a pair of dumbbells. Does that make sense to you?
Say it again.
Depends on how much-
Holding my body weight
Probably
from a
depends on
pull-up
how
bar
much
feels
weight.
harder than holding like farmer's carry dumbbells, like heavy.
Yeah.
I don't get the same like grip fatigue. So I was a lot of grip fatigue and
Yeah,
a lot of not knowing.
Hanging is exclusively like your
It's hard to
your
put more
actual grip
tension
and, like,
on
tendons
your
and
forearm
ligaments.
tendons.
Yeah.
You can like farmer's carry. You can turn into slump mode and make it like a little bit of a trap exercise, and like
That's
I
fair.
think you can transfer some of the loading into other muscles.
Okay. Yeah.
Better.
So I wasn't sure how my arms, like how my shoulder was going to hold up. Was I going to be able to just like kind of maintain that scat pull-up position? So I was very uncertain about this going in, and we only had like 30 minutes of practicing, like all 40 athletes 2 days before the competition. So if you didn't figure it out at that time, your only time to figure it out was on the field. And I felt like I got an idea of how to do it prior to the competition, but I wasn't confident in it at all. And I just didn't trust myself. So that was like that workout showed me how important it is to kind of to trust myself. Because once I figured out the pegboard, I was like, wow, this would be a really fun event to actually be able, like to be able to do it would be way more fun than just taking 12 minutes to get the first pegboard and then having to climb my way back. So it took me, over 10 minutes to get my first pegboard. And
I walked over to your side to see if I could like make eye contact with you about 5
Yeah.
minutes in, somewhere around
Yeah.
there.
yeah, so I was hanging out for a while. And then I had I was on the end of, I was in the last lane. So like I was able to see you. I was like, there were people there, like spectators cheering for me. So like that actually helped a lot. And before the first event, before that event that day, you had said, this is the day where people come, they're tired, they let their brains kind of absorb that physical fatigue, and let that hinder their performance, where the most important thing is to just stay in it today. So again, that was just another one of those workouts where it was fail after fail after fail, but don't give up, try to stay in it. And that helped a lot. So once I got the first pegboard down, I got to the ski, I settled in, hit the GHDs, came back to the pegboard, got through that one with a lot more ease, and then try to hit the second ski as hard as I could because I was coming up on the cap, and then just get as many GHDs in as I can. I was close to getting back to the pegboard. I just needed a few more reps.
And you had one of the things that we talked about before the workout was it's going to, whether you start off really well or start off really poorly, that's not going to end up being the entire narrative of the workout if you don't stay focused.
Right.
We saw a lot of athletes get across easy and then get stuck when they got back. Because again, they weren't taking the time to make sure, like, I can hold on again for that period of time. And then you get in that doom loop of like continuing to try to do something before you're ready, and you just can't. Like, that's just how the upper body is. So, the writing was on the wall early that you were going to come in dead last in this entire workout.
Yeah.
and then you passed like 5 people because you committed to like staying within the workout. And there were just other athletes where, you know, that work that you got to do, that mental work that you got to do, no one can take your physical capacity away from you. A judge can't take it away from you. A pegboard can't take it away from you. You are going to face these moments where it does feel like something is trying to rob you of your experience, and you have to take ownership in that moment. Like the woe is me, like what the fuck? I got that final peg in or whatever. Like you can't go back in time, can't argue your way out of it. So it's like once I'm ready, I just got to do it. Get back after it.
Yeah. And like I tried doing like every hole, like making my way one hole at a time. And I would get to like where the red line was halfway, and I would get to the last 2 and I'm like, I can't move I couldn't pull the peg out. My grip was so fried. It's like
it's crazy
first
to
5
watch.
minutes I fried my grip.
It's so crazy
fried
to
my
watch.
grip.
Yep.
It's nuts. Surprisingly enough though, it wasn't as fatiguing. Like we had next event, heavy double unders. You didn't feel your grip as much on that workout as I would have anticipated from the pegboard. So that was kind of that was interesting because that's not usually the case.
Right. All right. Event 8, 3 rounds, 100 rogue rope, double unders, 50-foot single arm overhead walking lunge with that same 100/70 pound sear bell, and then a 100-foot handstand walk. This one was interesting in terms of like how you felt about it and then how you executed round to round for sure.
What, did I have negative splits?
I think you might have. Like you just decided to walk past the line and do 2 chunks at once, and I was like, what's going on out here? Like I didn't expect that to happen.
I didn't either. And then it was like I felt good. I felt like I could trust myself. I've done a lot of maffetone on the ski, done a lot of zone 2 on my ski. So
I wanted you to say it.
Yeah. I definitely know that played a factor in just being able to stay on the jump rope, have smart sets on the jump rope. I don't think I spent too much time of like resting. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get a chunk done, stop, reset, do another chunk. So I felt like I executed that workout really, really well. I would have liked to have maybe seen what doing bigger sets on the handstand walk could have done, just because I felt confident going bigger. So that would have been the only change I would have tried to make is less breaking up with the handstand walk.
Right.
So yeah, that event was
lower
fun.
Bodies up and then fucked your upper bodies up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like looking
They
at
did.
all this, it's like, fuck your legs up. All right. Those don't work. Here we go. We'll make these don't work.
Yep.
Yeah, listening to the athletes
And
afterwards,
then the last
they were
event
like,
was,
it wasn't too much, but I don't know if I could have done any more. Like it was right on that line
Yeah.
for sure. And like I don't know that there's a way that you can do
Yep.
testing and nail it. So I don't know, like congratulations for guessing right. But I don't think much more would have been appropriate in those 3 days, like at all.
No. And we had talked about it, but they were very quick turnovers from like event 2 to event 3, event 5 to event 6. Like they were
especially on Sunday.
very tight windows of time. Yeah, we finished, and I got pushed into the next heat, but we finished the event 8, and I was like, what time do we need to start warming up? He's like, this is while I'm cooling down. And he's like, you are warming up right now.
Yes.
So it was literally my cool down was my
Luckily,
warm up.
a warm up
and
and
then
a
go play
cool
with some
down are
sandbags.
basically the same thing. Yeah. That's actually a good segue. So event 9, 15 sandbag cleans. These are the women's weights, 125 pounds, 10 sandbag cleans, 150, 5 sandbag cleans, 175 pounds. You were warming up and cooling down simultaneously, as we said. And it was interesting to watch. It was this one and the duel, I would say, were the most interesting to watch people warm up for. The duel was kind of funny because, like, warming up is warming up. And you can be ready for things, but, like, trying to fake the up and over on, like, a 20-inch box was funny to watch. And then people pushing a sled 9 feet instead of just riding an echo bike was also funny to watch. It's like, I got this. I'm totally going to figure this out. And Paige and I got a little bit of a giggle and maybe made some NARP comments during that period of time. But the sandbag one, it's like after all this time, 9th event, like they're jamming all these together. Like you said, they reseeded and you had dropped a little bit. So like, how do you think about warming up for something like that? How do you warm up for something like that?
Honestly, like, trust my training that I've done these movements a million times. Like, I thought that was actually very different. Like, I had never, for the duel, I had never not tested a movement. Like, we played around with the power stairs, but it was literally, you put it up one step, and that was it.
We were just
but it was like,
confirming
you
that
just
it
trust
wasn't
your
like
training.
crazy heavy or that you needed a weird technique. It was a
Yeah.
deadlift.
Yeah, right. But like instead of going out there 3, 2, 1, go, making that first heart rate spike be the actual workout, we would just do a 15-second echo bike sprint and then go corral and be ready to go. I hadn't always done things like that before. So that was like a mental shift for me of, I don't need to practice this specific movement to go out on the floor and be ready for it. So that was kind of cool. And then same thing for the sandbags. I knew the 125s needed to be done fast, but to an extent of like, I need to be prepared for that 150. So while I'm on the 125s, I'm kind of thinking already about the 150. But then when I'm at the 150, I'm thinking about the 150. When I get to the 175, I'm going to trust that my body knows how to pick the sandbag up really efficiently and put it on my shoulder. And I actually thought that the 175 was the most fun to do because it took the most technique to get it up efficiently and then get across the finish line.
And you liked that it was well packed and larger, right? Felt more natural to like lap it and then put it up on your shoulder versus sometimes they're loose and shitty and sand's flying in your face, or they're too small to really get like a good hold on.
Right. Yeah. Like I thought it was like, you can get it right up on your knees. And then from there, you can really use it like a power clean, get that full extension, and then drop underneath to get it on the shoulder. The way other people were doing it, I'm like, my back would be broken, my spine would be split in half. So,
ooh, that was another one. T-spine might have been parallel with the ground in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
There's some weird shit going on. Yeah.
Right.
Did they make
that
you
was
guys
a fun
put
event.
the arm out to show like control?
Every rep.
It wasn't like they weren't like, you didn't have to wait for a good, like you had to just put it out, let it drop.
Yeah.
Like you just had to show the
Couldn't
control.
just throw it over your shoulder with your back parallel to the ground and count it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Overall, I really like the events.
Would that be the one where you probably use the most gamesmanship out of the whole weekend? Because I'm just looking back through and like on event 8, you were like 5 seconds away from 2 or 3 people, but it was a little hard to tell where people were at in that workout. Even like if you're at whatever 170 heart rate, like knowing where someone is at, that can be really challenging. But then you go into event 9, and I told you the 3 women that were right there with you, and you did kind of the like it's like drafting off them basically. Like you kept them within sight, but didn't stomp the gas pedal until the end. And it was like a very sneaky move to like make, I mean, they're not watching you, but like everything looked heavy. And then you had 3 reps left and you were like 1, 2, 3, run across the finish line. I win.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like, once I did the first one, I was like, okay, that's not bad. All right, a little bit more rest. And then I'll do the second. And then I was like, no, I need to just get these done and cross the finish line. I see Haley's right in my sights, but I know people are right here with me. And they were just allowing themselves to take that extra 2 seconds to collect themselves before they went and picked it up. And I was like, just go pick it up and go.
Yeah. I think kind of the final thing that I want to bring up that you just mentioned in terms of like being able to see ahead in the workout. we really dug into that on event 4. So like when you have 100 meters left on the row, I want you to ask yourself, can you go put your hands onto the barbell to do the thrusters?
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of athletes, like you were one of the last people off of the rower, and then we're one of the first people with 10 thrusters. And it's just like your energy systems don't work in the other way. Like there were a few people who led the beginning of the run workout that it's like, hey, these are the like basically the 20 fittest men and women on earth, pretty close anyways.
Yeah.
Should you be in first? Should you? Like just look around.
Right.
Like this doesn't make any sense. So just in terms of the way that our energy systems work, and like if I feel like I didn't go hard enough in a workout, I can go harder. I can make up time. If I go too hard at the beginning of a workout, that's a problem. So it's just like, it's almost like the first thing in the workout is 1K row, 10 thrusters. And then at that point, like when you go to do your final 10, is it 10 again? Or is it 6 and 4, knowing that you want to go do 1 log muscle up immediately?
Yep.
Go over and do that. And I think a lot of athletes, low athlete IQ, high capability, fitness level, see that as 1K row. Whew, okay, now it's 30 thrusters. Whew, those were tough. Now it's this many log muscle ups. And you have to be so fucking strong and fit for that kind of strategy to work out. You're just basically tricking yourself into thinking your strategy's good when it's like, nah, you're just a freak.
Yeah, I think having a lot more insight like that too. There are a lot of things I learned a lot this weekend or last weekend as far as strategy and knowing that I don't have to overreach early on to still have a really fit time on the leaderboard, if that makes sense. So, eye-opening and a confidence booster. So knowing that like I've done the last 2 major competitions right now, not feeling like at my best physically, like peak shape, and having training be really consistent and working towards it, like towards the games or towards Rogue, to still come in and show up and finish 13th and have some pretty high, finishes on the leaderboard. That's pretty cool. It's a big confidence boost.
Sure. And as a coach, you have to know which athletes that you can go into that level of detail with. And which athletes like the too much information is too much information. Some athletes like are very they're not as cerebral and they want to just go out and sort of feel out the workout. So knowing that you like the details, and then also knowing that you're interested in coaching high level athletes once you're done, like that sort of opened up the gate a little bit for me to speak to you in a way where it's like, when we have this downtime, if it doesn't seem stressful to you, I'm going to tell you why I said what I said, or why I think about things the way that I do, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely find it helpful. Again, that's why I like listening to our phase structure podcast so much. It's because you guys give the why behind what we're doing, and then you can go and execute better based off knowing why this is in there, right? It's not, oh, he's putting thrusters in because I'm bad at thrusters. It's like, no, there is a reason that you're doing this, and it's towards the season that's coming up. So I find it super helpful, definitely.
Hunter, any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Would you classify yourself as someone who, so I had a conversation with Justin LaSala the other day. He was giving me some scores. And I was like, what was your goal pace here? And I was like, I don't know. It was just to not die. I was like, okay. Fantastic. And I kind of went back and forth with him, and he was like, he alluded to the fact that he's like kind of a game time athlete. Like, I rise to the occasion. And then I asked him, I was like, do you know what the other half of that idiom is? And it's like, you rise to the occasion, or you fall to the level of your training. And I'm curious, like, I think the best athletes have both in their pocket, but a lot of folks fall into one category or the other, right? It's like, I'm going to go out and perform at the level of training that I know that I can based on the training that I've done. And then you've got maybe on the other end of the spectrum, the athlete who, I don't want to say this is also not to say that Justin doesn't care about his training, but it's like that we put in a certain level of effort in training, knowing that when it comes time to perform, like I'm gonna do better than what I've done in training. I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on maybe where you shake out in that, and maybe just general like thoughts on that kind of concept.
Yeah, I think I still think I have more to learn as far as like getting into the weeds on strategy and being even more cerebral. But I think definitely both ends of the spectrum. I definitely think I have a little bit of both. I do put a lot of detail into training. Me and McKenna will debrief on workouts a lot of the time. We'll even like talk prior, like, hey, what's your goal pacing that you're trying to hold in this workout? What's your main goal? So I think part of that helps to have a training partner too, of having someone to just communicate back and forth with, like in the present moment. And I don't think LaSala really gets that. So I definitely think there's that side to it.
The
and
training
then there's
partner side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's just also being a gamer and knowing that like you're going out to compete. So like, do you have that extra level in you to kind of rise to the occasion? And I think having both is what makes the fittest on earth, right? You can't lack in one area, but be so good in another. And that's all part of being well-rounded.
Yeah,
it's an interesting topic,
like
especially
like
with Justin, because his final at the CrossFit Games this year to win the CrossFit Games, his execution was flawless. Not only in the workout, but in the circumstance of this athlete's over here, this athlete's over there. So it'd be interesting to ask him, like, how did you do that? If it's like grip and rip.
Yeah. I do hate to do this, but I do need to go. I have to go coach.
You're good.
All right, cool.
We did it.
Yeah,
awesome.
We did it. You have 1 second for your final thoughts. What are your final thoughts, Paige?
I'm excited to take some time off, and time off is very important. A healthy body is a happy body, and have fun when you compete, because that is what we do it for, is to love what we do and do it really well. So yeah, I'm excited to take some time off, circle back, and see what 2025 has in store. I don't know yet.
Thank you, Paige. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate you too. I'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Hunter, you got any final thoughts?
I was gonna say I don't think I could top that. Thought we were gonna close it out right there.
Not me either. Me either. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, that's a different style of ending for our podcast, but I think it's good.
All right, bye.
TeamMisfit.com for your individual programming needs. MisfitAthletics.com. Nope. TeamMisfit.com for your affiliate programming needs. MisfitAthletics.com for your individual programming needs. Go to both. Check them both out. They're fantastic. We'll see you next week.
Later.